All right, got a couple things to talk about today. We're going to dive into the playoffs, do a little recap of the divisional round, and also talk about the Browns' new head coach, Kevin Stefanski. So let's start off with the playoffs. Let's get into it. So starting with, let me just say overall, it was a very good weekend of football. I think teachable moments came out of this weekend that were pretty big for football, and I'm going to go through some of those. So starting with San Francisco, Minnesota, this was probably the more vanilla game that we saw this weekend. But at the same time, it started off very competitive. You had both teams trading shots, and you were seeing that, both defensive lines were really getting after the passers. And so it was really about who could protect their passers better. And this is where I saw the play call and play design for San Francisco be a little bit better as far as protecting Jimmy G. We know that both of these teams aren't huge aerial attacks. They're more built on being able to run the ball and set things up off of that. But San Francisco, of course, was a little more effective in not just the run game, but then the play action game off of it to really attack down the field. And as good as the receiving duo is in Minnesota, we've seen that there's many times where they need to become a passing team and they're just not able to get that done as far as pushing it down the field vertically. So I think it was a pretty competitive game throughout, but San Francisco, I think, showed you they were just a little bit more of a well-rounded team that was prepared for four quarters. Now, moving to Tennessee, Baltimore. So, funny enough, I was talking to my friend last weekend about this. We were looking ahead, and we were talking about Baltimore and Lamar. And I was like, you know what? There's nothing against Lamar for me, but people keep talking about what's unstoppable. They always talk about this is unstoppable. I'm like, whenever something new comes and it's working, this is unstoppable. This is unstoppable. And I'm like, look, he has great talent, had a great regular season. I'm like, but he's not unstoppable. Like, people always go to hyperbole. Like, I don't see how the league's ever going to figure this out. And I was talking to my friend. I'm like, the thing that I think, looking at this in football terms, that would really challenge Lamar and I think make him as not effective, is that once he gets down 2 or 3 scores against a defense that's doing well against his run, I'm like, then that's when we'll see how effective this offense is. And it's again not even really against Lamar. I'm like, because you can run the quarterback options and the full house looks and all these different things when you're up. But once you're behind in the clock and once you're behind in the scoreboard, that's when the game changes. And I think this weekend showed us that, like, you can't beat the clock at the end of the day. There's a reason power run and keep away ball became a thing where you keep the other team's offense off the field and you control the tempo. That's a reason that that's a philosophy and a strategy. And it's simply that you can't beat the clock. So now, as far as people playing the pass, or if it's second and short and we're trying to play pass run, Lamar can kill you with a scramble. Like, you might not, you don't know what's coming. But the thing is, when you're down 14 or 21 points, and it's only 2 quarters left, or half a quarter left, then guess what? That's when they're going to load the box. That's when they're going to make sure you're not going to be able to run. They know you're passing. And so we're going to either load the box and blitz you, or we're going to load the box and spy you and just make sure that there's nothing quick. And now you're going to have to become a passer. And so the thing I would say is that I don't think Lamar Jackson from last year could have even got those 12 points. But Lamar, to get that, I think really showed a lot of improvement and maturity. And I do think he looked a lot better than I expected him to look in that situation. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the same 2 things I've been talking about: Playoffs is where quarterbacks and defenses go to get exposed, and I mean that as in you got to make plays from the pocket and you got to stop the run. And if you can't do one of those things, then you're not going to be able to win. Because people got to realize, and again, no disrespect to Lamar, but I look at this as a very good thing for the game. I think the outcome of this whole weekend, but this particularly was a very good outcome for the sport of football, because the sports media and their narratives, the casual fans, the owners who are copycats and jump on trends, we needed this, because all this talk of you don't have to be a pocket quarterback anymore. We want mobile quarterbacks. We want mobile quarterbacks. They're so good. Like, yes, when you're up 14 points, then your quarterback can rip off a 20-yard run. That's nice. When you're up 14 points, 21 points, and you run around on 3rd and 9 for 5 seconds and then finally find somebody at the last second to convert the first down. Yeah, that's all good. But guess what? When you're down 14 or when there's only a quarter left, the only way, I won't say the only way, but the biggest plays that you can make with the highest percentage is from the pocket. From the pocket, you can see the most options. You can hold the defense more. And that's when you can attack downfield. Because guess what? When you start scrambling, the defense moves with you. And so that starts to shrink down the field. You got less options to see. You might have a run pass threat, but when the game's, when you're down 21 points, that run pass threat means nothing anymore. And so you scrambling around for the, towards the sideline and trying to make a last second throw and be inaccurate, it doesn't matter anymore because no one's threatened by the run. And so that's the thing. When it comes down to crunch time, there's one proven way, and that's being a pocket passer. And so I think, again, the ideal situation, if you don't have a great quarterback, is to protect them. Like I talked about with the other game, you want to be able to run. You want to be able to play action. You want to be able to be up on the points, and so that they aren't passing a whole bunch. But once you get down and now you're in a one-dimensional mode, they have to not only make one or two, really nice pocket plays. Now they got to make consistent pocket plays. And that's when you start to see the accuracy fall. That's when you start to see the ability to read the defense fall. And that's what we saw with Lamar. Again, a lot better than I expected, but not quite there yet. And so a lot of people want to talk about everything. And again, once you lose, everything is wrong. Once you win, it's all right. So people are like, oh, they rusty. They shouldn't have rested so long. All the receivers drop passes, and they did drop passes. I seen some people like the O-line was terrible. Lamar Jackson had like all day to throw. Tennessee's not a big time pass rush team. He had all day to throw a lot of the time. I don't want to hear that at all. You got two monsters at tackle, so I don't want to hear the O-line is trash. And you got all pro at guard. So O-line's not trash, but everybody starts blaming everything. Play calling was terrible. Now, the one thing I do want to say is I agree with some people some fans that I was talking with. They were like, if you're with Lamar Jackson and you're going to scramble on 4th and short, why do you dive it up the middle? Like, why don't you spread them out and then do some type of zone read or something like that? Now, I will agree. Now, the spread out thing doesn't really matter as much because, they know. I mean, you can't have the threat of the bubble and everything, but for the most part, they'll be able to cover everybody and still put everybody in the box. So it's not so much spreading them out, but it is, why did you go interior when you got one of the fastest guys? He can beat them, laterally. So I thought like a quarterback lead sweep, something like that. Now that stuff could get blown up too. Any play could get blown up, but I think you just had a better chance, especially the way Lamar's built. You just got a better chance going east and west with him to get 1 yard than you got him pounding up the middle. But that was one of my critiques. But other than that, like I said, you just kind of saw what happens in situational football. And situational football is very important. And one of the reasons the Patriots was favorites a lot, even though, people don't like them and all that, it wasn't because they won all the games. It's because how they won games. And, you know, I used to talk about that a lot. You've seen them blow teams out that they're supposed to blow out. You've seen them get up against a competitive team and keep their foot on the pedal and their foot on their neck and keep their lead. You've seen them get down and fight back and have a come from behind win. You saw them, you know, go neck and neck and win a tie game at the last second. You've seen them win in all these situations. So when you get into the playoffs, these guys know how to react to it. Now, it's not like Baltimore's fault that they blew people out. Of course not. But when you got teams that just aren't used to that situation, and like I said, Lamar just never really, not never, but didn't have to be in that situation a lot where he is, you know, playing as the underdog. Then and especially if the defense isn't giving you short fields and all that, then that's when you really have to see what's what. And so I think that segues nicely into the last game where Seattle, they started to fall behind for most of the game with Green Bay in the first half. But you got a team that knew how to respond. They knew how to fight back. And, you know, it was a game all the way to the end. And it just came down to execution. And so you got Russ Wilson, who effectively, that was the drive where they could have not won the game, but at least took over as far as points, and then tried to stop Green Bay, but they just didn't get it done. And so those conversions matter in a lot of games. And so when you're talking about Russ not being able to convert and sustain that drive, on the flip side, you got Aaron Rodgers, who had a really good game converting, and they weren't downhill power running like a top Russian team or anything. They weren't being Tennessee, but they still had an effective run game, but they were converting through the air. And a lot of times people want to run the ball, and it does matter because it sets up the play action. The clock doesn't stop, less chance of a turnover, all that good stuff. So that's why you got to be able to run the ball. But at the end of the day, you got to convert, whether it's run or pass. And kudos to Aaron Rodgers. They put it on his shoulders, and he was converting consistently. And people got to realize in a 5-point game, just one of those third down conversions, if you don't make it, that could be the whole tipping point of the game where, you know, this could have been a different outcome. So being able to convert and sustain drives is one of those very important things. But I did skip over Kansas City and Houston. So I actually didn't see this game. I didn't see Baltimore or this game live, actually, I should say. But I did go back and watch the highlights. I also have the game pass, so I was able to watch the game replay. Now, I will say with Kansas City, again, it's a situational football, being able to respond. No matter how you ended up there, you're down 24-0, and you could have easily packed it in. But they were able to still have confidence, still attack, and still get themselves not only back in the game, but of course, win the game. Now, the other thing about that is that this is where we're talking about this quarterback situation. Like, you could consider Mahomes mobile, and I think he's even a little quicker than he was in college, but he's not a scrambler. He is, for the most part, a pocket passer. He can do some extending, but that's not really his whole game. Now, the Houston offense didn't go nuts and get 24 points. It was a team effort. But even with that being said, you up 24 points. And so now as an offense, for you to then unravel and not be effective, even if it's, again, not even scoring points, but sustaining drives. And I don't care if it's all the way, 15 play drive ends in a punt or a field goal attempt. But now you're taking time off the clock. Now you're making it harder for the Chiefs, and they got to press more. But for you to not be effective enough to get that done, it speaks. I mean, of course, it's a team game and stuff, but really when you neutralize it with 24-point lead, offense, to say we got from 24-0 to 51-31, you got to look at them. And the same thing on the other side, to say we were down 24-0 and got to 51-31. It wasn't all Mahomes, of course. It was other big plays as well. But still, you got to be able to look at it and say, how do I win in the NFL against adversity? Is it running around, taking sacks? Is it running around and getting 2-yard gains here and there on a scramble, waiting for a big scramble? Is it, scrambling around for 7 seconds, trying to throw a last second pass? Or is it the ability to drop back in the pad or in the pocket, hold the safety with your eyes, and then make big plays down the field? If you don't have Mahomes, if it's the other way around, and it's the Chiefs up 24-0 like some people would expect, what do you expect Deshaun Watson and that offense to do? Now, people still talk about the offensive line and all that, but still, at the end of the day, I talked about this whole mobile quarterback thing, and again, when push comes to shove, of course, we're not talking about no 55-0 with 1 minute left, but when push comes to shove to really make it a game and to be able to be competitive, you have to make plays in the pocket. And I think that was a very well illustrated example of what an offense could do when you have full control of the passing game and you're not tailoring the passing game to make it easier for the quarterback. All right, so those are the games. Again, I think a lot of lessons to be taken, and I think a lot of that stuff is good for the game. I think people gotta look, again, when you're up and you're winning and you want to placate to your strengths, it's fine, but you have to get your team prepared for adversity, not prepared to just be the front runners. All right, so lastly, you got Kevin Stefanski, who's hired by the Browns. Offense coordinator recently for the Vikings, but been with the Vikings since 2006. Now, I like this hire. And I know I was kind of talking about the Vikings offense earlier, and I thought it was interesting because the two coordinators were going off against each other that were going for the job. You had the defense coordinator from the 49ers, and you had the offense coordinator from the Vikings in that face-off. And the Vikings did not fare well. And so it's interesting they still went with him, but again, this is where you got to look at the pedigree and understand the context. Now, again, I don't know like him super personally or anything, but when comparing this to a Matt Rule from college, people want Lincoln Riley, all that other stuff, and, the more, not contemporary, but the more new wave of hiring coaches versus the traditional route, this is what we're talking about, because you got a guy who his numbers might not have been great as an offensive coordinator this year or in the playoff game, but he's not being hired to be the offensive coordinator. And that's what people got to realize. And so then you look at it, he's been with this team since 2006, from, the ground up, really working his way up, being able to coach different positions, being an assistant to Zimmer. You could tell, obviously, being groomed by Zimmer and mentored, and being able to continue to rise up those ranks, and now you get that chance. And so people say, well, the offense wasn't great, why would he be a good head coach? Head coach is not just about the offense. So again, it's that ability to demonstrate what you've learned over that time in the NFL, what you've taken from coaches and your experiences, and how that is going to inform your philosophy on how you're going to run this team. And what things do you find important? What things are you going to look at? How do you take us from point A to point B? And then you being able to articulate all the things you went through, all the thoughts you have, and then other people validating your ability to get it done. And that's what it's about. It's not about, this flashy metric that somebody had. It sure enough shouldn't be about, you worked with this quarterback, so obviously you're great. We see how that worked out with DeFilippo and the whole Carson Wentz thing. Everybody around Carson Wentz start getting jobs. And now we see how that plays out. Not to say that they're not good coaches, but that in and of itself does not make you a good coach. And so don't know a ton about him. Not going to act like I could dissect and tell you everything about Stefanski, but I like this type of hire. I like this idea to give him a chance. I mean, I'm not in the room, so obviously you would assume he said some things and he has an idea for this that makes sense and that seems viable. and you look at the pedigree, and I think these are the type of guys that should be getting jobs. Like, not about Kevin specifically, but again, I think these are the type of hires that I support and make more sense to me. So, all right, so that's it for me. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about all that. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.